All right, y'all. Today we're going to take a look at this boudoir photography business. Going to see for its local search, see for its city search if either of them, any of them, got BSS. All right, so we're out here in the GBC universe again, where we bring declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, aka full spectrum intent capture. More on that, pinned video, home video on the profile, whatever. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our intent spectrum here, in white, high on the left, low on the right. And if a boudoir photographer is rising, they're probably bringing in peeps from the entire intent spectrum, from high intent to low or no intent. At least bringing them in awareness, even if they're low or no intent, awareness that we exist. And if we have a boudoir photographer business that's falling, they're probably missing chunks somewhere here on the intent spectrum. So here we talk about BSS. We're way over on the left side. Highest intent peeps. This is social search and Google search. Search on social networks for boudoir photo shoot in my city. See on Google search, the highest intent keyword searches. And over on the right, that's our other sister brand, different profiles. Boudoir FB ad doctor. So we're talking about BLCS. Talking about BLCS, kind of a niche problem there, niche pain. And right now we currently only deal with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month on boudoir Facebook ads. And, that side on the right, that's the lowest intent peeps, interruption ads, Facebook, Instagram. They have no intent for boudoir right now. Next, moving on, we got BSS, boudoir search sameness. That's what it is. That means a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. So 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. If we got 0 slots, we're basically dead. Because we have, we've already talked about approximately 80% of Google searches never reach page 2. They're page 1 only searches. So approximately 80% of searches, aka the bulk of the market, is page 1 only. So from page 2, we're basically dead. Page 1, that's if we got 1 slot on page 1, that's still not enough. There's there's 10 organic slots. There's one or one out of if there's 9 other boudoir photographers, everyone else got 1 slot. Then a buyer's just clicking down all of page 1. Basically never gonna go to page 2. Open up everyone's website, gonna compare, contrast, price shop all these boudoir photographers. And as a result, we're still basically invisible because we're being price shopped so much. So we know that 0 1 slots on page 1 of Google is not normal. Common, but it's not normal. Dude, it's not normal to have that many, those few slots on page 1 when Google actually wants to give us way more to those that want to take them. So 0 1 slots on page 1 Google is not normal is actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation, which basically everyone understands, but also newly the false belief of page 1 equality, which basically nobody understands yet. So market saturation, that seems like every week someone get a new iPhone, we see them throwing out their Google My Business profile, their website. Now they say they do boudoir, they're a boudoir photographer, or they get a new camera, they're posting in the mom groups. They also do boudoir photo shoots now. So that's market saturation. Also, COVID, tons of new peeps came into the marketplace because nobody could work. People lost their jobs. But again, everyone's got a phone with a great camera, so bringing in a ton more peeps to become boudoir photographers. Now, the false belief of page 1 equality, this is a big one. This is what I've seen is the #1 killer of boudoir photography businesses. This is where everyone, well, if everyone believes it, kind of automatically, implicitly, this is where, they're kind of like, everyone gets either 0 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And so, I had slot number 8 on Google. The boudoir photographer ranked above me. I got kicked down to slot 10. And, it is what it is because every boudoir photographer gets either 0 or 1 slots on Google. And there's basically nothing I can do about it. But this is 100% incorrect. Google actually will give as many page 1 slots as possible to those who actually want the page 1 slots. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page 1 to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 Google organic search in 10 days. So I know Google gives these slots out to the people that want to take them. And as a result, if people believe this page 1 equality is true, then they never kind of break out of the box and look for solutions. And, well, there were no real good solutions before. But now we got one, which you'll see that in two pictures from here. So we also know that boudoir photographer with BSS, with boudoir search sameness, is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. So our microuniverse taking shape, a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the two horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. Thankfully, though, we finally have a solution. We know that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S cubed methodology. And how do we know that? Because we invented it. And so it works exactly as it says. S cubed methodology, social search saturation. We saturate social search with our highest intent, highest demand keywords for highest intent buyers, what they would be searching on Google. To saturate social search, so we show up for all those. It's kind of like the backside of the Andes Mountains, all the small streams and rivers, then flow into the large Amazon River. These then eventually all flow into Google, page one Google search. But the initial upstream is ranking high, page one social search across all the four major social networks. Now, SQL methodology, this is the only thing that I've seen that can successfully, for boudoir photographers, it's the only thing I've seen that can successfully fight back against market saturation. Literally the only thing. And as a result, we, basically as a result, that's the only thing that gets us results relatively quickly. Because the only other thing I've seen actually successfully outcompete is market saturation having a brand. But dude, that takes like 5 years minimum, more like 10 years. So because AI is coming, taking people's jobs, we ain't got 5 or 10 years anymore. We got to move ASAP, ASAP, ASAP. And S cubed methodology is that vehicle. So, imagine we got 1 million boudoir photographers in Omaha, Nebraska. We're one of them. Everyone's got a website saying they're boudoir photographers. So everyone's ranking there. And as a result, we are competing with all these boudoir photographers for page one. So we say, you know what? Screw this. The only chance we got of competing here is cranking S cubed methodology up to the max. And luckily, I was working with no one else in Omaha, so you could actually hire me. So we can't crank it up to the max, and let's say we are successfully, we're ranking the first 300 slots, page one of, search and all these social networks. Well, not even page one, dude. That's like a lot more pages than page one. But the first 300 slots, we're taking them up, and as a result, we are there's a small rivers that flow into page one Google. So we're taking the first 300 organic slots on Google as well. And there's 10 organic slots per page. So we're literally taking the first 30 pages, all the organic slots from them. And so anytime anyone in our city searches with the boudoir photographer with those high intent keywords, they are basically anywhere they look. They're basically only finding us. Now, for organic search, they could go to page 31 to essentially start finding our competitors. But dude, we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page two. They're page one search only. So who the heck's hitting page 31? Basically nobody. So as a result, even though there are a million boudoir, 999,999 other boudoir photographers and us competing against us, since we captured social search and Google search for the highest intent keywords, we're basically the only one that's being found. So whose business is the only one growing as a result? Our business. Out of all million boudoir photographers. So that's what we mean what I mean when I say this is the only thing I've discovered other than brand that can successfully compete against market saturation. Compete against and still grow the business. Now, once we treat BSS with S cubed methodology, we have page one visibility. And boom, we get an instant bonus benefit, an initial benefit, which is for every new slot we acquire on page one, we're actually kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible. So this is awesome because, hey, we're getting more slots on page one. We get, more of, out of 10 attention because there's 10 slots, increasing our attention. But actually, we're decreasing the number of boudoir photographers we're competing against because we're kicking a new one off every time we rank another, we get another slot on there. That's an initial benefit initially right off the bat using S cubed methodology. Now, page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. BSV. We have a GBC minimum here, recommended minimum of reaching 3 out of 10 slots on page one Google search, because basically everyone else will have one slot. So for Google's recommended us 3 times, well, buyers can be like, well, what the hell? Why is Google recommend this person? They must be good. They may even click to us, only us, and not even look at the other options on page one. But in addition, there's a tiny chance another boudoir photographer has 2 slots on page one. So if we got 3 slots, we're out competing everyone that has 0, 1, or 2 slots on page 1 of Google search. Now we also know that Boudoir photographer with BSV, with Boudoir search visibility, is a visible Boudoir photographer, a VBP. So we got our full micro universe here. A disappearing Boudoir photographer with Boudoir search sameness is caused by the two horns of market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. Now we use S-cubed methodology. We finally have a solution. Thank the universe. Page 1 visibility. We achieve page 1 visibility. We become a visible Boudoir photographer with Boudoir search visibility. Now my results. So myself, purely using S-cubed methodology, I'm going to rank for the term BLCS Boudoir. And come down to organic. Organic results, we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Organic slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. And slot 10 is also me. And I did this in 10 days. I went from 0 out of 10 slots, Google Organic, page 1. And I got up to 9 out of 10 slots, Google Organic, page 1, in only 10 days. So these are my own results utilizing S-cubed methodology. Now the main event here, we're going to check out this Boudoir photography business, check out its local search, city search, see if we got any BSS, see if we're in the GBC recommended minimums. All right, so we're going to Henderson, Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, let's see, Henderson, Nevada. All right, so let's see what we got. Nope. Nope. All right, we got 0 out of 10 for Henderson, Nevada, so we got BSS there. And now we're going to Las Vegas. All right, let's go. All right, so let's check this. All right, we got one. There we go. Boom, we got one. All right, so we got 1 out of 10. All right, so going back to our. All right, so local search Henderson. What's that? Is that part of Las Vegas? I believe that's my best guess. So we're at 0 out of 10 slots there. So we got BSS. We're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum. 3 out of 10 slots, page 1, Google search. Las Vegas, we got 1 out of 10. So we still do have BSS with Boudoir search sameness. And we also are not meeting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 of Google search. So if you're a boudoir photographer, disappearing boudoir photographer, you've got boudoir search sameness. You're seeing market saturation coming up. It's going to become more and more saturated. You know that page 1 equality is a false belief. You kind of didn't think about it before, but now you're like, yeah, dude. Why is everyone, why is no one trying to take more slots page 1? And you're seeing with the way AI is going, there's going to be taking more people's jobs, pushing more people to become boudoir photographers. On top of when they get a new iPhone, they're a new boudoir photographer, or if they get a new camera, they're a new boudoir photographer. And so you're seeing the last time a lot of people lost their jobs was COVID, and a whole deluge of boudoir photographers came into the market. So you're saying, all right, that's probably going to happen again. And you want to get prepared. And you're seeing that there's also back-end benefits of this S-cubed methodology that we haven't talked about yet, but you're seeing, hey, this S-cubed methodology, you want to use this, you want to keep rolling with it, because it can fight back against market saturation faster than any other solution. The only other thing would be, building a brand, but that takes years. And you realize, and the other things on the back end of this is, if you got all these kind of bundles of keywords under your business, your brand that you're ranking for, that's a higher chance you show up in the AI search overview when you rank for all these keywords using the S-cubed methodology. and higher chance you rank for AI search as a backend benefit. You know, ChatGPT search, whatever, Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search, because they look for kind of bundles of keywords around a business, themes, thematic columns, and so you're like, man, I was able to get page one on Google and page one on all these search, you know, social search, and kind of get the back end benefits of higher probability of AI over me being, being the only one AI overview or being included in AI search. Where the last time I used AI search to search for a boudoir photographer in a city, it gave me three. Those were ChatGPT. It gave me three. So a higher chance you become one of the three. By having all these, the highest intent keywords focused, kind of thematically bundled as like pillars underneath your brand name. And you're also noticing that if some other boudoir photographer goes first to start using this in your area, then, well, you can't work with me anymore. So you'd have to figure it all out yourself and then equal them in work to maintain so they don't take over page one, or, most likely need to double them in work to actually make progress at getting more slots on page one that they were taking. So if you decide, okay, it's better just be the first goer and solidify your position, get the highest chance of basically being market saturation proof, busting that false belief of page one inequality, then shoot me a DM when my DM's open. My DMs are closed right now. New patient intake at the hospital is currently closed. But when we do open up for a new patient intake, shoot me a DM, we'll see if you qualify, and I'll have some questions for you.